Hey everybody, we're about to get to a great episode of the Adventist Hoops podcast, but before we do, I wanted to just check in with Drew Meckelberg. He's the head men's coach and athletic director at Union Adventist University. And Drew, we've been talking a lot recently because we've been planning together this second annual Adventist Hoops All-American Weekend that's happening at Union Adventist University in Lincoln, Nebraska, July 29 through August 2 here in 2026. What are you most looking forward to about this event being at Union?
Dustin, we are really looking forward to having everybody on our campus. We love the community that we've grown. We love the camaraderie, getting to interact with other coaches from the Adventist realm, as well as players. Seeing the best players from the country on our campus is something we're really looking forward to.
Well, we're looking forward to being there, and I'll tell you what, Union's going to be a great partner. This event is happening because not only they have the people that are going to help partner with us to make this put the event together. You also have the facilities. The All-Star Game is going to be at the legendary Thunderdome on Saturday night, August 1. But one of the requirements of having this event is that we got to have multiple courts for all of the athletes that are going to be there. There's drills, there's practices, scrimmages, so we need more than one facility. And you guys have that in that brand new wellness and fitness center there on campus. It's pretty big. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the Reiner Wellness Center was built 2 years ago, and we have absolutely loved having it. We've got 2 full-sized college basketball courts. We've got a turf area that can be used. We've got a state-of-the-art weight room, a swimming pool, 25-meter swimming pool, and a running track, cardio equipment. It is all going to be used that weekend, and we cannot wait to show off our new facility.
We are excited to use it. We're going to use, I think, every inch of the campus there for that weekend. Drew, I also wanted to ask you just about Union as a destination for athletes that are out there that are wanting to play at the next level. Union just recently joined the NCCAA. What is that, and why would Union be a good spot for someone to land if they're interested in playing, not even just basketball, at the next level?
Yeah, we've been really excited about our affiliation with the National Christian College Athletic Association. We have played a lot of these teams for over 40 years, but now we get a chance to legitimize our program and play against these same teams, but compete at the collegiate level for championships and tournaments and all of those good things. And so we offer men's soccer, women's volleyball, men's and women's basketball at the NCCAA level. But then we also have a golf team and a acrobatics gymnastics team that is a huge part of what we do as an athletic program here on our campus.
Well, if you decide to make the trip out to Union to Lincoln this summer to watch the second annual Adventist Hoops All-American All-Star Games on Saturday night, August 1, you'll get to see all of these places, these facilities, and the great program that Drew has going there. A long history, a great tradition of athletics there at Union Adventist University. And just a big thank you that goes out to Union for partnering to make this second annual All-American Weekend happen. We couldn't do it without them, and we're looking forward to coming out to Nebraska this summer. Thanks, Drew.
You bet. Can't wait. We're looking forward to it.
All right, now let's get to this episode. Hey everybody, welcome to the Adventist Hoops podcast. Today we got a special guest, Andrea Hoover. She played in the WNBA and Spring Valley Academy, but first want to welcome in Josh Boyko. Josh, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, coming off of a real high last night with my Minnesota teams clutched up a little bit, and in the NHL and NBA, we're moving on to round 2. So it was a good day, and I'm ready to talk some more basketball here.
We're recording this May 1, 2026. Yeah, I'm surprised that the Nuggets are out in the first round, but that's the way it goes. So
yeah, I got to go on to Game 4, which was pretty spectacular. But yeah, good stuff.
I'm just a Kings fan over here, so we have nothing. So I'm happy for you. Happy for you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, hey, we're gonna get right to our very special guest today. She is a former LA Sparks guard, a member of University of Dayton's Hall of Fame, and also a Spring Valley Academy in Ohio standout, Andrea Hoover holder. Andrea, welcome to the Adventist Hoops podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So Andrea, there's been a number of people over the last few years since Adventist Hoops started that said, you got to talk to Andrea Hoover. Andrea Hoover was amazing.
And this last January, I was at the Southwestern Adventist University Hoops Classic and asking some of those people, like, who's the best player to ever come through? And immediately they say Andrea Hoover. So you've been on my list of someone I wanted to talk to for quite some time, and I'm glad that we were able to make it work. So wanted to hear a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about your early basketball journey.
Yeah. So I am from Bellbrook, Ohio. It's about 20 minutes away from Spring Valley Academy. I actually still live in Bellbrook today with my 3 girls and my husband. Yeah, so right now we moved to Ohio when I was 2. I went to kindergarten at Spring Valley, and then I was homeschooled up until 7th grade, and then went to Spring Valley from 7th grade until I graduated. And from there, I went to the University of Dayton, played basketball. But kind of going back, growing up, I had 2 older brothers, so I was always in sports like flag football, baseball, softball, you name it. I was playing it. Came to Spring Valley in 7th grade. I was playing with the boys. Flag football, I was the quarterback. It was just always what I did, all sports, everything. So that's kind of how I started playing basketball and kind of got serious about it in 7th, 8th grade. Didn't really think I was, that caliber until later on, but I've always been a sports addict.
Was basketball at that point in middle school your favorite sport?
Honestly, it was not. Flag football was my favorite sport by far. I just loved playing it, but obviously girls, that wasn't really an avenue to go on to do that. Basketball probably didn't become my favorite sport until 8th, 9th grade, when people started telling me, like, hey, you could be very good at playing college. And I was like, whoa, really? Like, okay. And then I don't think I made that next step until I started playing summer AAU ball in 8th grade. And that's when I really started, like, okay, maybe I should put all my eggs in this basket type thing.
Well, nowadays there are, colleges that are offering scholarships for girls flag football. There's a lot of high schools across the country that are offering girls flag football. So if this would have happened a little while back, maybe you would have been playing in the Olympics this summer, in 2028 in LA for the flag football competition.
I have to say, I know Spring Valley sends kids, I think, to California every year for flag football tournament. I know my class, the class of 2011, I'm sure they feel the same way. I'm very jealous because we would have caused havoc in that tournament. Yes.
Well, I think you still made a good choice with going after basketball. What was your club basketball experience like in 8th grade, and did you do that throughout high school?
So I started out with the Dayton Metro my first year, and it was a shock going from Spring Valley basketball, which it's kind of like, I feel like a lot of high school Adventists, it's kind of the same thing, kind of like a social event. It's not like super serious. It's more just hanging out with friends. And then I started playing AAU for that first team, and I was like, oh wow, now you're getting the top girls in the state of Ohio, the Dayton area. So I played for Dayton Metro, and then the following year I played for Dayton Lady Hoop Stars, which was at the time the top club. And I've always had a little bit of imposter syndrome. I was like, oh, I could never play. Like, I could never play for them. And then I got asked, like, hey, you should come to tryouts. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll come. And then I ended up making the team. And that was, again, a shock with my imposter syndrome. So then I started to play for a coach. His name was Dwayne Williams. And then I played for his team throughout my entire career. And he really made a huge impact on my basketball career, just because I think one of the hardest parts about playing at a small school is that you're always the best player. Like, so I was the best player by far at Spring Valley, like girls wise. But so I almost had like this cockiness to me. And then when I went to play AAU, I had to get, notched down a couple of times. And then he did a great job of doing that. He's like, no, you need to be able to play. Cause I was like, oh, I'm a shooting guard, I only shoot. He's like, no, you're going to be able to play 1, 2, 3. You're going to dive on the floor, take charges. So I credit him for really making my game go on to the next level.
And just if I may ask here, so who
Yeah.
would be someone maybe that you modeled your game after growing up in the game of women's basketball?
So I actually watch Steph Curry highlights like all the time. Like, he was the guy I was obsessed with him. That's when he made, I think it was in middle, I don't forget what year he made the Davidson run, but I watched all his shooting videos. I don't know if you guys remember Jimmer Fredette. You guys remember him from BYU?
Sacramento King.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I remember staying up until like 11 o'clock at night watching his games because he was, on the West Coast. And not exactly, I couldn't really, mimic my game after his because he was a little crazy. But those were two guys that I always loved. And I was a huge North Carolina fan as well. So I followed the women's team and the men's team, Callahansboro, and we went to the midnight with Roy's, the camps, and all that stuff. So we were pretty fan fanatics, as you would say.
So if you're modeling your game after Steph and Jimmer, that must mean you like to shoot the rock.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
I did.
Okay. Now, was that something that you had as a skill coming into academy there at SVA, or is that something that, you were a slasher and then developed that later on in high school, or how did that progression work?
I was always, I would say, an above average shooter, but I didn't perfect my shot and my form until I think sophomore going into my junior. I changed my shot 3 times, which probably no one knows. Middle school, I shot with my thumb and I fixed that. And then, fifth grade, I shot with both hands. Like, it was pretty bad,
Sure.
but I still made it. So
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if I want to change it. And I changed that. And then in high school, I still used my thumb. I still used,
On the offhand.
the offhand.
Yeah.
Which a lot of, professional players do that too. But we switched it again in sophomore year, which was a little, at that time I was starting to get college interest, and that was a little nerve-wracking to say the least. But my coach, Mark Velasco, who is the assistant, and he still helps for Spring Valley to this day, and Dan Hotelling, they were huge advocates of just, Mark is an absolute perfectionist, and he would watch film. He bought Steve Nash like shooting videos, and we would watch them, and he would take film and we would watch the film. And Dan Hotelling Mark bought a shooting machine for the Spring Valley gym for everyone, but honestly, it was probably really for me. So it was definitely something that I was natural at because just my natural athletic ability, but I was in my driveway taking videos of my form to make sure my elbow was in, not popping out. So definitely have that obsessive personality gene that I've later as an adult come to realize that I had that as a child.
When you were in high school going through that progression, was there any opportunities that you had to go play elsewhere to maybe get some more recruiting, or was it just we're going to stick at SVA here and ride it out?
Yes. So I live in Bellbrook, and I was neighbors with the assistant. No, he wasn't the assistant. He was the principal at the middle school, and I always played with his son in the driveway. So that kind of started some conversation. And my sophomore year going into my junior year, we kind of explored the option of me still going to Spring Valley, except playing basketball at Bellbrook because Spring Valley wasn't in the OSHA league, so we couldn't play in the state tournament, stuff like that. They denied it. They said no. And to this day, I kind of still troll them because now I know like everyone in Bellbrook, like all the coaches that I know the coach now that was the coach back then too. And I always kind of give them crap like, yeah, you guys turned me down. I couldn't play for your high school team. But, it was a blessing in disguise because
there must have been a legal reason that they couldn't allow that, or kind of be crazy to not.
So I think, sorry, my dog's needy. I think we could have fought it, except my family were very passive. I was kind of like on the fence. They're like, well, if you want to go to Bellbrook, for sure. Like, yeah. I'm like, no, I don't really want to go to Bellbrook. So I didn't want to put, full effort into doing it. My dad was constantly like, I don't think it's a good idea. Belbert can sometimes be a little cliquey, so I don't know if, you know, an upcoming junior taking people's spots would have been a great environment for a 16-year-old at the time.
So you must have been having a decent experience at Spring Valley Academy, both on and off the court, to want to continue to play there.
Yeah, I think so. I tell people this all the time. I think, you know, going to Spring Valley was a blessing, because when I played AAU was like my season. It was like the season to like show out. And it was kind of the opposite for the other girls. The other girls, it's like high school season, they wanted to win state. They were still doing, you know, summer workouts with their team, going to camps with their team, playing from October all the way to, you know, March if they made it to the state tournament. So by the time they got to AAU, they were exhausted. Me, I'm like, oh, season is just beginning. Like, let's go. Like, this is my Super Bowl type thing. And it really taught me to work out on my own. I feel like that is missing a lot. Like in high school basketball, you go to team practice that's for 2 hours, but no one works out like one-on-one, or just take some cones, do cone drills, do up and down, shoot some free throws while you're huffing and puffing. Like, no one really knows how to do that in high school, because they're already exhausted from their 3-hour practice, so they just want to go home. I think that I had that ability, and then going on to college, I was the same way. Like, hey, extra shots up, you know, pulling the coach, my assistant coach, you know, at 5:30 in the morning before 6 a.m. practice to get more shots up. So it kind of just instilled that that drive in me.
If you don't put all that extra effort in outside of the practices, and do you feel like you're skilled enough that junior year, senior year, that you're getting the looks that you did get? Or do you think you would have naturally, you know, just on athleticism and ability, you know, alone been noticed?
I don't think alone would have been noticed. I do think I needed to put in the extra effort, just to be able, because I'm not tall. I mean, I'm 5'8". I'm tall for an Adventist school, probably one of the taller ones. But I'm shorter on the shorter end, and then I'm also a shooting guard, so I have to be able to like jump and get like actual lift on my shot to shoot it over people. But I will say, I do think there were some schools that were scared, because they would come to my high school games, and my dad would try to warn them, like, hey, this is not like, you're not going to Fairmont or Centerville, which are the, you know, D1 schools around here. You're going to a very, very small school. And they would look at my averages, which I forget what I averaged my senior year, but it was something in the 20s. And they're like, well, yeah, she's going to average that. Like, she's, you know, playing against these teams are beaten by 50, which I totally understand. As a coach that's trying to recruit people, it's really hard. But then when we would go, my senior year, we played in a tournament that was outside. I forget what they called it. But we entered a tournament that was pretty much with other OSHA schools, that since we entered the tournament, they had to play us. So a lot of people want to play us because we weren't OSHA. And it was just kind of like a lose-lose situation. If they beat us, great. Woohoo. And if we beat them, it was terrible. And we entered that tournament, and we ended up winning all our games. And I think I had like 39, 42, like, but like those were the games I actually had to try, and I loved those games. But the games against like Sydney, who were beaten by like 50, my dad, he always did the score. He's like, Andrea, just get your average. Just get your average. Because all I'm doing, I'm just like passing. I'm like, what? I'm like, I mean, I could score like 60 points against these guys, but it's like playing against my 3-year-old type. But yeah, it had its pros and its cons, but it gave me an extra chip on my shoulder when I was at UD and I played, you know, Michigan State, Louisville. And I was like, well, you guys didn't recruit me, so let's stick it to you.
Right. Talk a little bit about your experience at the Southwestern Adventist University tournament. I don't know how many years you went to it, but what do you remember about your experiences there at the Hoops Classic?
So I believe I went there 2 times. I know one was my senior year. That one was just crazy. I have never, my senior year, Andrews and the Southwest tournament was probably, I was treated like an actual celebrity, which it was the weirdest thing. Made me feel very uncomfortable. Like the whole time I was like, oh my gosh, like people were wanting my autographs, like oh,
other
okay.
kids?
Yeah, other kids were like, it was funny because my dad was videotaping one of the games, and one of the guys in the crowd was like, what's your number? 24, what's your number? And my dad turns, he's like, her number's 24. But yeah, it was like the atmosphere in that game was crazy because everyone knew who I was, who was coming. Spring Valley was the favorite. Kind of like this expectation that, you know, my nickname was Kobe, like just, and I'm like, guys, I'm just a girl from Spring Valley, like just here to play. But it was one of those moments where it was just so fun, like even like not just the basketball part, but just spending it with my best friends, like on my team who, you know, Spring Valley wasn't really known to win those tournaments. So that was like our one or 2 years that we actually got to win. It was super special and just had a great time. Honestly, it's such a blur. I cannot even, all I remember is that the team we played in the championship, they had this really good freshman. Can't tell you who she was. All I know is everyone was like, oh, she's really good. Like a super good freshman. And I was like, okay, all right. Like, and then we ended up beating them by like 20. And I was like, okay, cool. You can come back next year.
So you won the championship there, and you said you went to Andrews too, huh?
Yeah, we went to Andrews every year. Texas was one I think we tried to go every other year.
Okay.
Yeah, so Andrews, we went, and we won that one. We won that one too. But yeah, honestly, my memory is very bad. All I remember is I always have the pictures pop up of, I don't know if they still do it. They do the one court in the crowd. There's like tons of people, which I feel like there's usually not that many people for the girls' games yet, but
well,
it was crazy.
A couple years ago, and it was packed for both girls and
they do
guys
a great job with those tournaments for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Did you have the opportunity to play other Adventist schools outside of those Adventist tournaments, or was it mostly just against the local area schools?
Yeah, it was mostly against the local area schools. We didn't really have anyone that was close to us at all. So it was really just Andrews, and maybe I think Spring Valley hosted once or twice, like a round robin in the very beginning of the year. Other than that, they would come to us, like the Andrews and stuff like that. Other than that, it was always those tournaments. We would play teams local to us, but it was really hard to get teams because we were trying to play teams that were a little better, but most of the time they were like OSHA and they didn't want to play us, and it was just like a whole thing.
So in these last couple of years of high school, you are putting up great numbers in Adventist circles. You're a celebrity. What was your recruiting process like that led you ultimately to, even despite other offers, staying at home and playing for University of Dayton?
Yeah, so I've always been a homebody. I always knew I didn't want to go far. I wanted to have the college experience, but I didn't want to be like a plane ride or, 10, 12 hours away. And I was offered by like the Miami, the Butlers, Green, Bowling Green. I had interest from the bigger schools, but again, I think they did get a little hesitant with, going to a smaller school and those type of stats. So I ended up committing to the University of Dayton because UD at the time wasn't afraid, because I wanted to play the Power 5 schools, but they weren't afraid to play them, and people were coming to UD to play them, and I really connected with the coaches at the University of Dayton as well. And then the other huge part was that they were within the A10, which is spread out pretty good across the East Coast. And I really liked that. I wanted to go to Washington, D.C. I wanted to go up to Pittsburgh. New York City, stuff like that. So in Miami was kind of just like very close, a lot of like just bus rides, and I wanted to travel more. So that was one of the biggest reasons why I went to the University of Dayton. And then one of my roommate, who ended up being my roommate, also committed there. She was local to the Dayton area, and that was another big reason. But yeah.
Go for it, Josh.
You talked a little bit about like reforming your shot over a couple of different periods throughout your career. How many reps does it take to iron something out as important as a jump shot in basketball?
Oh, geez. A lot. I remember the day that to this day, I remember the day that I did it because I was not happy. Obviously, looking back, I'm like, you just changed your shot. You shouldn't be making every single shot. But it took a long time. I mean, I was in the gym all the time. My dad was a coach, so he had keys. So we were about 10 minutes away from Spring Valley. So we would always get on the gun and we would try to get up 300 to 500 shots, including, drills that maybe it was 4 courts. So drills that made me go along 4 courts and at the end shooting free throws, really trying to do game-like situations. And I mean, I credit my dad a lot because I always dragged him to the gym, like all the time. And I know, especially playing AAU and, having teammates that were burnt out already as juniors and seniors, my dad and my parents always did a really great job of asking me, hey, do you still want to do this? This is not, us driven. I'm like, no, just let's go. Let's go shoot. So it was always internally driven, which is when I think I get a little bit of the obsessive personality. Just always shooting, and sometimes I get a little angry and kick some balls, but I guess that's part of the process of wanting
Happens
to
to everyone.
be really good at something. And
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah.
Being a part of the Adventist community there and starting to play club basketball, and then eventually your decision to go to Dayton, was there any criticism of you playing on Sabbath? Was that something that came up, or was it not really an issue for the most part?
Yeah, it for sure came up, not really directly to me, but my parents are both affiliated with Kettering College, Kettering Health Network. So I think they kind of got most of the like, small talk. Yeah, that leads into that question. They did a great job of shielding me of, any of that criticism. Because, I just want to play basketball, and my mom this is where my mom comes in. She does a really great job of, play like a Christian, play like, God is in your heart. You can play as hard as you want, but if someone falls down, when the whistle blows, you can help them up. Be different with how you play. And I do think I showed that when I was at the University of Dayton at Spring Valley. Like you can be super good, but you don't have to be cocky. You don't have to be a jerk about it. You can still show Jesus through your actions, even playing a sport.
For sure.
Yeah.
What was your approach personally to Sabbath growing up, and was that something that you had to wrestle with, or was it something that you're like, you know what, God gifted me with these talents and abilities, and I'm going to use them because He's clearly blessed me?
Yeah, so I think that's kind of how I viewed it. Hey, sorry. Fair. No, do not. He's a little puppy. So yeah, that is exactly how I viewed it. Like, some people are great at singing. They go to Sabbath and they sing. Some people are great at playing the piano. Some people are great at, giving sermons, like literally at public speaking. And, my gift definitely was not any of those gifts. My gift was playing sports, and sometimes you can reach people by, even doing something like that, by going out playing sports. And a lot of times the best player is, the meanest one on the court, and that doesn't always have to be the case. And I think that I showed that just because I'm good and can play basketball doesn't mean that, I also can't signify how you should act on the basketball court, because as we all know, sports brings the worst out of people. There were also fights at Andrews and stuff like that when people play basketball, and I pride myself on never getting a technical foul ever.
Ever?
Never have had a technical foul.
Wow.
I came close when I coached my third grade Pee Wee team. But no, I've never gotten a technical foul. I've always kept my composure. And a lot of people, I think sometimes when you're like the best player, they automatically think like, oh, she's terrible or she's a terrible person.
Mhm.
And I always like proving people wrong in that way, as like, I can be good and I can also be a super nice person to help you out, saying, hey, that's a good shot. Like, you can still make a really, really good shot, and I'm still going to compliment you because, I played really good defense there and you still made the shot.
Yeah. Well, one of the cool things that we've done in the last year or so, I think traditionally excelling in athletics isn't something that has necessarily been like celebrated by the Seventh-day Adventist Church in general. I think that we celebrate a lot of different occupations and gifts and everything, but that hasn't necessarily been done in official capacity. And we had the opportunity last year to hold the first ever national Seventh-day Adventist High School All-Star Games with boys and girls. And we did it out in Loma Linda, and we're doing it again this summer at Union Adventist University in Nebraska. And that was one thing that I heard is it's so good to feel validated for the skills that God has, blessed me with. And maybe I don't feel completely validated by my own church, but at least, us doing what we've done the last couple of years with Adventist Hoops, not a couple of years, last year and then this year with Adventist Hoops is hopefully validating some Adventist kids out there that are, clearly God has blessed them with those gifts and talents, and now we can celebrate it.
Yeah. I was always supported at Spring Valley. I think most of the noise came from people outside the community that didn't even know me or my family personally, which I feel like that always happens. It's the people that don't know anything that have the most to say. But the pastor, he went to my Dayton games, so obviously he was great. And everyone at Spring Valley supported me at my Dayton games and through everything. So they've always been great. But that is, especially, that was one of the biggest reasons why I thought about leaving Spring Valley my sophomore year, was because of that. And it's nice to hear that, it is being celebrated, because I know a lot of people that left because they're like, well, if I really want to take this to the next level, then I need to go somewhere else. And then they're just getting out of the circle. We, as an Adventist community, should be trying to keep everyone in your circle.
For sure. Josh, you had a question.
What were some of the largest offers that you did get for on the college side? And you had mentioned UNC earlier as you were a fan of them. Did you ever receive an offer from up that high?
No, I would have loved to. At the time, I don't think I fit their basketball style. They were more of a run and gun team. I don't think if they would have offered me, I probably would have been like, yes, absolutely. But I would not have fit into their basketball style. I was more of like a mid-major offer. I had interest. So I want to make sure that I'm very specific. I had offers from like Butler, Miami, like all the MAC schools pretty much. And I had interest from NC State, Iowa, Stanford, but then Stanford came to a Spring Valley game, and I think they got scared.
No.
I didn't hear much from them after that. So I committed to UD my sophomore year. So I think if I would have held off until my junior year to make the decision, I probably would have gotten more of those bigger schools, because it was kind of funny. Coach Jaber always liked to tell this story that he was watching me at one of the AAU games, and they're like, where's that girl going? And he's like, I don't know, like kind of playing dumb. And like 10, 15 minutes later go by, and she looks it up. She's like, she's going to you. And yeah, I think it was, I forget what school it was. I think it was NC State or something like that. So I think if I would have waited, because most people commit like junior year, but I think UD contacted me that they were offering my scholarship to someone else. And I was like, yes, because I didn't want to lose it. So that's kind of the game you have to play as well, because they're going to be like, I'm going to offer this to two other guards, and pretty much whoever says yes first gets it.
Interesting. So in your last couple years of high school, you're playing in competitive AAU and then not so competitive high school basketball, or depending on how you look at it. If you're playing a giant, then you have to try to beat the giant largely on your own. So that's its own challenge. But I imagine that the jump to Division I basketball, no matter where you're coming from in high school, is probably a little bit of a shock. And what was that jump like for you?
Yeah, it was. Luckily, I am local to Dayton, so I was able to do open gyms with the team. I was on the campus for both summer semesters, which usually people are only on there for one. That's kind of a love-hate relationship there. But I was able to get more, one-on-one work, more lifting experience with the strength coach. Definitely just the speed of the game I had to really get used to. And I kind of rode the bench for the first 5 or 6 games. I didn't play a whole lot. And to be completely honest, again, my imposter syndrome, like when I went to UD, I was like, I would just love to contribute. That's like when I'm asking, like, just to contribute when I get in the game, not screw up too much was my my goal. And then there was an injury. One of the juniors or seniors got injured, and then my name kind of was like, all right, freshman kind of got thrown in. And then I'm the type of player that once I get like 2 or 3 games, like a real playing time, I actually have a really hard time playing like 2 minutes coming out, playing 3 minutes coming out. It's really, yeah, it's terrible. So once I actually got like quite a bit more playing time, and then kind of figured out my role on the team, I started to kind of get into a groove. And my role, like defensively, I was definitely a wink. So my role was like, all right, I'm going to sacrifice my body to get the charges, do all the dive on the floor, get the ball, just not be a liability, be smart, know your scout, know if this person go left, can go right. So that was probably defensively, was my biggest hurdle that I had to get over and figure out how I could be a benefit to the team on that end, and then also stay on so I can play offense, which was, obviously my favorite thing to do. So,
well, even if you weren't in a groove right away, we have here that you ended up averaging double digits that first year. In fact, you averaged double digits your whole career there at Dayton. If you don't mind, I'm just going to read off some of your accolades here, because you are in the Dayton Hall of Fame here. So you averaged over 10 points a game, 5 rebounds as a guard your freshman year, Atlantic 10 Freshman of the Year. You jumped up to 12 points per game in your sophomore year. You guys actually won the conference championship that year, 28-3 record. Pretty great. Feel free to jump in, Andrea, if you want to comment on any of these.
Yeah, so I think, we had 7 seniors, I think, that year, my senior year. And they did an absolute great job of kind of taking me under their wing, because I knew I was the freshman. I was the one that probably didn't know half the plays because I was a freshman. I mean, we had like 3 plays at Spring Valley, which was like ISO, give Andrea the ball. So they did a great job of just really, being a coach to me on the court, which I think is absolutely huge, especially for a freshman. And going into my sophomore year, the same thing. My sophomore year, Coach Jaber was pretty much, this is your team. Like you and Allie, who's my roommate. You guys take the team. And then our sophomore year, we really had to grow up, and we ended up starting like, I don't know, it's like 15 or 16-0, something crazy, which was probably very unexpected since we had just lost 7 seniors. I think a lot of people thought we were going to struggle, except we were just playing freely. And yeah, I think I just literally started to realize that, if I work my butt off in the off season, work out, it's almost a direct correlation to season, statistics and stuff. So.
Yeah. When did you realize that there might even be another step beyond college for this? How far in did that happen?
I don't think I thought that was going to happen. Let me just tell you where I was when I got drafted. I was on the couch by myself. I did not know I was going to be drafted. I had no idea. I thought I was just kind of done. I wasn't planning on going overseas. Didn't think I was going to sign on to a WNBA team to even try out. I was sitting at the house of my boyfriend, now husband, and I was just watching it leisurely because Allie Malat, my roommate, she got drafted, and I was, kind of cheering for her, and then they just say my name, and I'm like, what? It was kind of like this surreal, like, I've never been to LA before. I guess that's where I'm going. And then I ended up going there and staying at a hotel right across from the Staples Center and walking to practice. It was the weirdest thing. And I always like to tell people that we couldn't practice at the Staples Center one time because Kim Kardashian rented it out for Kanye West. And I always thought that was like the coolest thing ever. I was like, wow.
Yeah, we got bumped for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a birthday party.
Crazy.
But, yeah,
so I mean, if you had some shell shock going from Spring Valley Academy to Division I basketball, what was the shell shock like going from small town Ohio to Los Angeles and playing in the WNBA?
Well, first off, they gave me a rental car, which was the biggest mistake they could have ever done, giving a Midwest girl a rental car in Los Angeles. So that was super fun. But yeah, it was just.
What does that mean? Were you a big time tourist driving all over the place, or? I
was trying to drive down the one-way roads. I was driving in the speed lane that I was like, why is no one in this lane? Like, got a nice ticket for that one.
Getting like fast track charges that they had to pay for. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, I mean, that whole situation, I think the most shell shock someone could feel would probably be going to LA, because you're literally practicing in the Staples Center. You're sharing the same facilities as the Lakers. Magic Johnson is your owner. Like, that is literally the biggest shell shock ever.
Was this something you had ever dreamed about, or as a kid, or?
No, really? Honestly, I didn't really pay too much attention to the WNBA. I mean, it wasn't, really on TV. You really had to search for it back then. That was not on my radar at all, like at all. And then it was more just like, I mean, even when you get drafted, so I was like 34th or 35th. I was the last overall pick. And even if you get drafted, you still have to make the team. So you're not guaranteed to make the team. It's not like the NBA where if you're, the top 3 rounds, you're pretty much going to make the team. Most people don't make the team. Yeah, no, there's like maybe 8-10 teams back then. And so in my head, I was like, yeah, I'll go. I'll, do my best and I was kind of telling her, I was like, I would be very surprised if I made this team. I mean, very surprised. And then I end up making the team. Like every other day, someone's getting cut, and the whole time I'm just like, call me into their office. I was like, here it is, here it comes. And then I ended up making it, and I was just like, holy crap. And then there was a bunch of injuries, and then I ended up playing, and I was like, holy crap. So the whole thing was just one big shell shock, to say the least.
What was someone that you maybe were like when you got on the court? Wow, I'm lining up against this person. Was there any of that factor? What timeline was this in?
So my first point was I scored on Stu Bird. So that's always fun to say.
Oh.
So yeah, I was guarding Stu Bird at one point, and I was just like, okay, no, this is even more shell shock.
This was 2015, yeah?
Yeah, 2015.
Yeah.
So this is probably one of her last years she played. I played with Tamika Johnson, who it was like her 12th or 13th year. She was kind of she was the OG of the WNBA, played with the huge big time players.
Was Lisa Leslie around? Like, did she ever come to anything? It seems like she was kind of
she did.
supportive.
Yeah, she spoke to us one time, and then Magic Johnson was always around. Like that, he obviously spoke to us multiple times. Yeah, it was just crazy. Like I can't even describe it. Like we'd be going to New York and doing all this stuff. Like the only thing I will say about that WNBA, at least the team I was on, it was like every day you didn't know who was on the team because it was like someone's getting cut, someone's getting picked up, someone's getting cut, someone's getting picked up. It was kind of crazy because we would all be getting on the bus. So, we're all teammates. So we're like, oh, where's so-and-so?
Oh, no.
So should someone text her to make sure she makes it to the bus? And we're like, oh, she got cut.
Oh no.
What? And the same, and then I got cut right before All-Star break because they cut me because Candace Parker was returning. And I was like, that's good. You guys need Candace. So I was like, oh, I guess that's fine. That was a little hard.
What was the biggest adjustment in your game that you had to make at that level? Or not adjustment, but just you mentioned you had to get used to the speed of the game at Division I basketball. What about jumping to professional?
One of my biggest regrets is not developing being a point guard in college. I was always a shooting guard. That was my role. And again, I think this is one of those things where the WNBA just really wasn't on my radar, really. So in my head, I was like, hey, we have point guards. So I'm not going to be like, I want to be point guard too. I'm going to, do what I need to do to help our team win. But looking back, I should have been like, hey, I'm not trying to take a point guard position. I just think I need to play the point just for my own development. And then when I went to the NBA, they had me at point. And that definitely was not my strong suit. And I think that's something that if I could have, as a 5'8" guard, I'm already small in college, and as a 5'8" guard, I'm definitely small in the WNBA. And I think I had to have had those skills to be able to go on. Now, I think I could have developed them if I had the desire to stay in the WNBA. I think I definitely could have developed them and gone overseas and been like, hey, I need to be point guard first, shooting guard second, or both combo. That was by far the biggest because I just wasn't big enough to be a wing. They wanted like a 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2" wing. So going to the WNBA, that was definitely something that I should have worked on in college. But
how involved in the game are you still today, or is it on to new chapters?
So I am not. I coached my daughter's second grade Pee-wee team.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was interesting to say the least. I have realized I was like, oh, I'll be chill, like I'm cool, and then I realized that the competitive fire came back a little bit. So I'm super involved with my kids' sports like volleyball, basketball. soccer, anything that involves them. I try to not. So I've been like, they have wanted me to get involved with Bellbrook basketball. But
You're like, you guys didn't let me play for you, so no.
I do say that. I do always bring that up. I'm not gonna lie, just to troll them in the most loving way. But I have a 3, 5, and 8-year-old, and I'm just like, I can't. I'll never be at their games if I'm doing this over here. So, and I want to develop my own kids. Once they get to that age, I will probably be coaching somewhere around where my kids are involved. But I always bring Reagan to Spring Valley. I help with I scrimmage against them, Spring Valley girls. I come play just to get up and down. I heard they had a heartbreak at Andrews.
They did.
Yeah. Coach Mark Velasco, he's still the coach, and he was my assistant coach. So that's kind of how I stay connected.
Well, there's two girls there, Addie Dodds and Serena Calendar, that are Adventist Hoops All-Americans for this summer out at Union in Nebraska.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be representing SVA this summer on the Adventist national level.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome. Yeah, they were great. They're so coachable. I think that is one of the biggest compliments that you can give any player, is just how coachable can you be. And that group, I mean, when we were talking, they actually listened, and I mean, they do realize, like, so me, my sister-in-law, my sister-in-law's sister, who was in my class, and then the other sister, who is like 4 or 5 years older than me, all come back and scrimmage against them. And we were all former, winners of the Andrews tournament, like all that stuff. So kind of unfair sometimes. I feel like the team that we bring back, but they're always there just to learn and to just get better. And I'm like, I mean, they did the same thing to us girls. They caught a bunch of guys and the guard me and would rotate. So yeah, that was one thing. Dan and Mark were always super good at challenging me in practices. Even though they knew I was the best one, they would bring his son in, Ben Hoteling, to guard me, my brother to guard me, and foul me all the time. I don't know, you guys know Dayton Foster, Spring Valley? Danon
Foster.
Yeah, he's the athletic director for Spring Valley and the PE guy, and he would run PE class, and he would always stack the teams against me in high school. See, they were always like trying to make me better, but when I was in high school or middle school and high school, I was like, you guys are literally trying to kill me. You put all the best players over there, and you give me and one guy right here. But in the end, they were just trying to make me better. I have a better attitude. But
well, Andrea, it's been really fun to get to know you. Thank you for sharing a little bit. I know there's way more that we could talk about. We didn't even get to all your accolades in college, but you had a very successful college career there at Dayton. But we end every conversation on the Adventist Hoops podcast by just asking a simple question, which is, what does basketball mean to you?
Oh, basketball, that's kind of hard, I feel like. So I think the biggest thing that basketball, it brings, the best and worst out of people. But at the end of the day, it's something you can always get better at. And you can do it literally for the rest of your life. I still play pickup, and now I'm teaching my kids how to play basketball. And so it's always brings connection and love if you do it the right way. If you do it with love and do it with gratitude, you can always instill characteristics that you want that will go on in life. I think that it can be a tool or it can be a tool, or it can be, something that you really take on in other aspects of your life. Yeah.
Well said. Beautiful. Yeah. Well, that's a great place to end. Thank you, Andrea, and thank you, Josh. Thanks, everybody, for listening to the Adventist Hoops podcast.
Thank you, guys.